Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Marvel's She-Hulk Attorney at Law. You're gonna like her when she's angry. Hulk smash, everyone. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Marvel's She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Special thanks, as always, to our incredible friends at Marvel and Disney Plus Canada for giving us the opportunity to watch the show early for review. Now, before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things Geekcentric. Joining me for this extra green spoiler-free review, he's the judicial jaunty and jazzy jelly bean of justice. He's Justin the Lawman Lawrence.
Sup, y'all? Let's get some law. I don't know.
That sounded like a joke that Jen would have made. Like, let's get lawful in here. Yeah.
Let's get lawful. I'm ready
go.
to get lawful. I just don't even know.
Well, listen, we also have a surprise witness joining the stand. He's ready to dismiss the deliberation of the deposition given by the defendant of the defenders. He's Darcy, the dank devil Hudson.
You said extra green episode. That's the type of episode I'm in for. Green is my color, baby.
Dude, you're just all about the green. You're making the green. You're spending the green, and you're smoking the green. But listen. We actually are missing one of our Incredible Hulks tonight. Maybe not, I wouldn't say unfortunately. It's a good thing. He's not available to be with us tonight because he might be having a little Hulk of his own. We've heard that potentially there are some baby rumblings and some baby tumblings going on. Would you say that's the case, Justin? You're reporting on this, apparently.
Yes, I'm reporting on it live as we speak, but it might be some Braxton Hicks. We'll see. Who knows? By the end of this episode, we might have another geek in the family. So
that's a bit fast. That's a bit fast, I think.
Darcy's just like, I've got too much money riding on the date that I've chosen that this baby's going to pop out.
Yeah, the little one's got to stay there for 2 more days, and I'll be good.
Yeah.
So
all right.
There you go.
Well, listen, before we dive into this review, I wanted to ask you guys, obviously we see Jennifer Walters Hulk out and do some strength training in this series. I want to know, was there ever a moment in your life that you ever felt like the strongest person in the room? Have you ever had a moment where you're just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I am the strongest person here right now?
Well, I am my family's go-to for all heavy lifting, and everyone is always surprised by how much I can just, brute force out of the way. So
yeah, very
regular occurrence in my household, for me at least. So
yeah, it's like you do the thing where it's like the groceries. And it's like, they're like, no, you don't have to take all that. And you're like, no, I'm not coming back. And you've got like 90 groceries on one arm and 90 on the other. And you're like, I will make. You just do it like a strongman thing.
Oh, yeah, I've done that before. Yeah. But it's usually just like, oh, we got to put this rug back down. Can you lift up the couch? And I will hold up the couch with one hand while helping them put the rug down because it's Velcro. And I don't know why Velcro rugs ever were a thing. So much effort trying to line up.
Velcro rugs. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Velcro rugs. My God.
Ruggables. They're great, but they're also awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be the worst noise ever while also being the most satisfying thing. Just that gentle rip.
Yeah. Speaking of a gentle rip,
awesome.
Justin, have you ever smelt like the strongest person in the room? Have you ever felt like the strongest person in the room?
Well, I have outstunk some of the strongest smells in the room, if that's what you're asking.
There you go.
But no, I think I wasn't always strong. I'm tall, right? So a lot of people just equate tall with strong, but that's not always the case, obviously.
Yeah.
I got some meat on my bones, though. So I have surprised myself more so than anyone else around me. But I don't think I am as Darcy says about himself, the go-to strong person. But I am someone that can be of a resource of help when lifting or moving large things. I hate it. It's uncomfortable. I got a bad back, so.
For me, I would say, like, it's incredible how strong you can be when you're also so incredibly lazy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I'm going back to the car for those extra groceries. So, of course, I'm going to do the 90 groceries on one side and the other. But there was one time.
That is Kevin.
That's Kevin as
That
well.
is Kevin. He would be like that. He'd be like, no. Just load me up. Put all those boxes on.
I'm not coming
Yep,
back.
I got it. Yeah, exactly.
I will say there's this one time where I was hitting the game. I believe that's what it's called. And I added weights to this machine that you push up with your legs. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I'm going to add more weights. So I added more weights, and then I got on. I was like, this is too easy. I added more weights, and then I got on, and I'm like, this is too easy. And by the end of it, I was like twice, maybe 3 times my body weight I was pushing. And I was just like, whoa, like my legs are so strong. And then I remembered, like,
dude,
yeah, because you lift yourself every single day with your legs. You're constantly
walking is
a
a workout for your entire body, basically.
Yeah,
so yeah,
for
your
sure.
legs are always the strongest.
Not that impressive.
But you again, you're like a lot like Kevin in that you have big legs, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you could probably crush watermelons, like,
dude,
super easy.
Get me one.
Just put
Get me one right now. That's great YouTube content.
I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, we'll make it happen. Before we crush watermelons between our legs, or we do a standard boulder toss on our way to the law offices of GLK&H, let me give you a synopsis for this show. In Marvel Studios' She-Hulk attorney at law, Jennifer Walters, an attorney specializing in superhuman-oriented legal cases, must navigate the complicated life of a single 30-something-year-old who also happens to be a green 6'7" super-powered Hulk. The 9-episode comedy series welcomes a host of MCU vets, including Mark Ruffalo as Smart Hulk, Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky / The Abomination, and Benedict Wong as Wong, as well as Jamila Jamil, Josh Segarra, Ginger Gonzaga, John Bass, and Renee Elise Goldsberry, and of course, She-Hulk herself, Tatiana Maslany. This series is directed by Kat Coiro and Anu Valia, as well as written by head writer Jessica Gao, executive producers Kevin Feige, Louis D'Esposito, Victoria Alonso, Brad Winderbaum, Kat Coiro, and Jessica Gao. She-Hulk Attorney at Law streams exclusively on Disney Plus beginning August 18th. And just before we get to our thoughts on the episodes that we've watched, I did want to just kind of address that we have seen 4 episodes so far, and again, this will be completely spoiler-free. This will be completely spoiler-free. And that's what we're going to be basing our review off of. But don't worry, if you're a fan of our Watch Club series, we took the extra care this time around to record our first 3 episodes of Watch Club naturally, with our natural reactions and thoughts and theories for each episode. So we watched, then recorded before watching the next episode. And it also means that our first 3 episodes will actually be out on the same day each episode releases on Disney Plus, starting this Thursday. So, with all that said, let's get to our thoughts on this series so far. Justin, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think this series is absolutely hilarious. I had a smile on my face the entire time I was watching all 4 of these episodes, and it has a lot to do with this new structure for this series. You know, a 30-minute law procedural comedy, not unfamiliar to those who would watch sitcoms or shows from the cable days. So that's really great. This is all fresh and new for them. But what really heightens all of this is this very in-your-face, obvious message from the perspective of Jennifer Walters being both a hero and a woman living in the MCU world. It is so incredibly self-aware, very comedic. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and I love that. I think that it's very much showing the next evolution of the MCU in that they don't need to take themselves so seriously. And, you know, even from the press conference that I was able to attend this past week, both Jessica Gao, the writer and executive producer, and the director, Kat Coiro, spoke very highly of the purpose of wanting to interject that, to sort of frame the series in and around that conversation, because we have spent a lot of time with the men of the MCU. So this was the opportunity to very, very much so focus on the woman's perspective in the MCU. And I think it just very much, that is the confidence that this series has.
That's kind of where I want to jump in there. I think, you know, it's the series is dripping with confidence and yes, you can definitely tell that it's the confidence of Jessica Gao's writing that we're really seeing throughout these 4 episodes. And I'm waiting for the MCU Disney Plus release that has me saying that this feels like more of the same, because yet again, like we literally have said it, I think every single time that they come out with a new show, this feels so fresh compared to what we've gotten, even down to the way the episodes and the story arcs seem to be structured, with them emulating, the story arc structure of an actual law procedural with 1 to 2 episode arcs at just about 25 to 30 minutes each. We're getting a show that I think is going to be it's going to definitely feel really different for people. It honestly is. I think it might not be the greatest for everyone. I think some people are going to, maybe it might rub them the wrong way, and I think that is purposeful. I think the show is trying to disrupt a lot of parts of the fandom for good reason, but I also think from a pacing perspective, there could be some elements to it that people aren't going to catch on to right away. And even myself, as we watch these 4 episodes, I didn't necessarily immediately get hooked by the pacing of them.
I mean, that's something that I actually liked about this show, is that, being familiar with some of the law procedurals that that have existed to date now, I understand the structuring that they do sometimes with the weekly stories, or sometimes a mini arc over several episodes. So knowing that going into this show, they definitely nail that, while also bringing a lot of that workplace comedy humor to it. So I love the marriage of those two styles, because it's working so well for this thing. And even as a fan of the comics, each week they seem to find little things to slip in that keep me wanting to come back more, or make me really excited, because it's something from the pages I read and I never thought I'd see on the screen. So they are nailing it in so many ways. And the cast as a whole, it blows me away. Like, almost every scene there, the characters are so well written and so believable that you really fall in love with a lot of the main cast. And it's, kudos to the actors and the writers, because they definitely knew where they're going with these characters.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And in regards to the length of each episode and the structure, I'm totally with you, Darcy. I think this works to the advantage of the series. And maybe the people that you're referring to, Nate, the people that are in their mind have seen the other shows and say, okay, this is the format of an MCU show. I think you're right. I think fans are going to be a little shook by this change. But the reality is that Marvel is actually having fun with these series. It's not all high stakes. It's not all multiversal elements. In that press conference, they talked about how She-Hulk, she was a defining character on her own that was self-referential, that was very in your face and sort of fourth wall breaking. She was doing it before Deadpool, they even said. So this series is very much going to introduce the lighter side, the more comedic side. It still has the MCU action that you want and you love, but in smaller amounts. And I appreciate that. It's not so heavy. And I think that this proves that, much like in the cinematic universe, where they are taking genres and mixing it in to the superhero movie, they are doing that here with the TV series. They are taking the 30-minute sitcom law procedural and blending it into a superhero narrative. It's so well done. And I agree. I don't know if everyone's gonna love the structure and the pacing. I think a lot of people are gonna love it, though. I think it's gonna hit well.
Yeah, grab a drink, sit down. Don't expect this to shift the narrative of the MCU in phase 4 or 5 or whatever. We're in phase 4, right? Yeah.
Relax. Relax is what you're basically saying. Yeah, right.
I will say the humor in the show, I think, is fantastic. Some incredible laughs that I've gotten in it, as well as just the fourth wall breaking that you brought up. I think it's cool because not only does that offer a way for us to, as an audience, directly have a connection to Jen herself, but it also allows the show to make fun of Marvel itself and to address the changes to the MCU that it's endured over the years. And there's some really great in-jokes about, some different things that have happened that I won't spoil, but I just, when you see it, you're going to have such a good time.
And that is for the MCU fans. If you're an MCU fan that's stuck with it, you've gone through the doom and gloom, you've seen all of this, the good and the bad of the MCU. When those little Easter egg moments happen in these jokes, you're going to laugh because it's speaking to you.
And I love how forward the show is about addressing and really poking fun at the toxic side of the fan base, of fandom in general, I think, is something that we unfortunately can say. And I think it does a really good job of just sort of, for I'm sure, unfortunately, a lot of people watching, turning the mirror around and just saying, hey, yeah, that's you right now that we're making fun of right now. So I think it's really smart. I think they're not holding anything back. And yeah, you can when they show it off, they go to furthest possible point to show it off, and really kind of show why that toxicity really shouldn't even exist.
And it's done in a manner that feels like tasteful, but also smart, right? It's handled well. It's not like in your face for the sake of it. It's commenting to make a point, and it feels purposeful. It feels meaningful. And I know, Nate, you were mentioning earlier on, like the pacing, the structure, the 30-minute time of these episodes, it may rub fans the wrong way. But I also think that the tone is something that is going to rub fans the wrong way. This is lighter. Like, think about it. We're going to get Daredevil introduced into the MCU in this series, right? And the fact that this series, as light as it is, and they've actually gone on record of saying, like, we're introducing the lighter side of Daredevil. You know, when that episode drops, all those fans on Twitter,
they've ruined Daredevil.
If this is the way Daredevil is going to go, it's not for me. This isn't my Daredevil. This isn't my Matt Murdock. Like, we know that this is going to happen. The fans are going to react, and it's almost a guarantee. But I think you have to look at it like, if you can come into the She-Hulk side of the MCU, things do get lighter, right? It's kind of what we were talking about with how they introduced Daredevil. There's cussing, there's violence, there's all this stuff. Bring some of those MCU characters into that R-rated world. They can cross over. They can drop an F-bomb here and do some gory stuff here and there. But then they can step back into their, more appropriate MCU title. It's just having fun with it. So maybe Daredevil is, and some of the other characters that we see here, like Abomination, maybe they are featured lighter. Doesn't mean that defines them for the rest of the MCU.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think, I think as far as the show and the show writers and the creators and everyone in the show really speaking out, I think, we've seen Tatiana Maslany in interviews speaking about, the label of, women superheroes and the super powered woman, and how she just really doesn't think that should be a label anymore. And I completely agree. But I wanted to talk about Tatiana Maslany is fantastic in this show. She's instantly She-Hulk. She's absolutely crushing it in this role. And you gotta love yet another series back to back with a Canadian lead. Like, let's go.
Yo.
Like, she's so good.
Talent lives is Canada, baby.
That's it.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I loved the whole cast, and again, at the heart of the cast is Tatiana Maslany's Jennifer Walters, and she does such a good job of bringing the levity to the character, as well as addressing a lot of these these really real life, true to form issues that women face in today's society. So it's the fact that she's doing that and still managing to put a smile on your face means that, again, just goes to show how the writing and again, Tatiana knows and understands this character so well, and it really shows.
Yeah, you can totally see why Tatiana jumped into this role. Like, it's clear. This is of her personal character. This is who she is. We've seen her in these marketing materials wearing a sweater that says "Support Trans Futures." Like, she believes in these causes and in this messaging. And I think that's so much of the character of Jennifer Walters. Like, I think we would see Jennifer Walters fighting for those rights as well. And it's clear that Tatiana Maslany, she cares about the messaging of things and how things are said. And it's no surprise to me that she would be on the side of, when can we stop putting such an emphasis on female-led movies or female-led superhero movies? But sadly, we are not there yet. So she's going to get asked those dumb questions all the time from people that might not necessarily have clicked into it yet.
Yeah.
That being said, she is literally the heart and strength of this series. She is so funny. She is so down to earth, incredibly relatable. I would argue that she's probably one of the most relatable characters in the MCU. The way she's defining Jennifer Walters in this series is perfect, man. It is literally the highlight of this series. I
also wanted to shout out the supporting cast. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, for what we do get of him, is excellent as always. I love how you can literally see in his performance how he's, as Bruce, he's jealous, he's instantly competitive, but you also see the moments, like, literally in his face at times, which shout out to the VFX artists as well for being able to digitally translate the his acting into that character of Smart Hulk, and just the fact that, like, you do see he's jealous, but he's also really just wanting to connect and to connect over the fact that he's never had another person in his life who's been a Hulk and to go through similar things that he's going through. So I think his line delivery was excellent to emphasize that as well. I also wanted to shout out Ginger Gonzaga, who plays Nikki. She's Jen's ride or die. Like from the very first moment, you just see how committed as a character she is to Jen, and just their friendship. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how that blooms and how that goes forward. And then I also listen, it's in the trailers. It's not a spoiler. Benedict Wong as Wong is just a delight as always. Like I can't say anything more than that. He's so great.
He is. He truly is. You can never go wrong if you're choosing Wong. Like
there you go.
Anytime you put him in a movie, he brings a smile to your face because his character is such a strong part that we've seen multiple times before, and he never changes. He's always the same person every time we see him, and it's just so grounding and so nice to see him pop up like this.
He's going to be the thread, man. He is going to be the thread that really does tie Phase 4 together, right? He's like the 3PO, if you will.
He's the new Nick Fury of the MCU.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Especially as they kind of branch off. But yes, Nate, you listed off all the side characters. I think Ginger, who plays Nikki, she is so down to earth. It doesn't even seem like she's acting, and I think she actually said that in the press conference. Yeah. It's like she's like I'm so much like Nikki. It doesn't even seem like there's a difference between us. So again, I really appreciate if you've listened to the show and you listen to what I like about acting, I love when actors can bring themselves into the role. They can draw a line and differentiate themselves and understand, well, this is how my character is going to be different from who I am. But I also really do enjoy when they can find ways to connect themselves to that character, because it just makes it feel that much more believable. It makes it feel like the actors are that much more committed to the characters that they're portraying. And the same can be said about Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. You're absolutely right, Nate. You called it out. Like, these are some of the best moments with Smart Hulk and Ruffalo fuse. Like, it's really, really nice to see him get the emotional treatment that he deserves, because I think they've hinted at it, obviously, like Age of Ultron, and maybe even very much so in the last bits of Endgame leading into the finale, of course. But here it's like it's following up with him after all that trauma from Endgame and seeing where he's at. So I love that they found a way to incorporate that, incorporate his story into this. But the CGI, can we talk about the CGI?
That's where I kind of wanted to get into, because I think, well, before we do, I just wanted to quickly say there's been a lot of stuff coming up in the news lately of Marvel and how their VFX artists are potentially treated. Again, not actually being at Marvel and just learning through the world of Twitter, which can be a toxic place in its own. It is tough to sort of tell what is and what isn't factual, but there have been more than enough reports to make me believe that not everything is going great there. So it makes it a little tricky to criticize when we don't exactly know the working conditions of these VFX artists.
For sure. I think we need to lighten up on the criticism of visual effects as well. There is a passion that these people invest into doing these visual effects, but sometimes the criticisms of us and others can diminish the work that they're doing. And right. I get it. Like, Marvel is a powerhouse machine that clearly seems to be having a problem with communicating timelines and when things need to be due and stuff. And that really does fall on producers and production leads, not really communicating with visual effects houses that need to do the best work that they can do. So based on everything that's come out, all the news around this, I do think Marvel needs to get their house in order, and they need to figure out a better strategy with these visual effects houses so that they can do their best work. But that being said, the look of Banner, of She-Hulk, it is of that top tier visual effects that you would expect from a Marvel movie. But I think at the same time, it's like, yeah, maybe a trailer featured a not completed version of it, but it was close enough. Maybe a little disclaimer about, this doesn't feature entirely completed visual effects, so please don't harp on it. But like, it's crazy that how many people flew off the handle off of the first bout, and they were just like, this doesn't look good, it looks way too CGI. And it's like, what do you expect?
I definitely think there was an improvement for the majority of those shots that we did see in the trailer that we've seen in these 4 episodes, for those who are wondering. Like, I definitely think anything from a mid-level shot, right, where we're seeing characters actually talking to each other in these Hulk forms, absolutely nailed. Like, again, as I mentioned, Banner's face, and Jen's face and her mannerisms and the way she talks, and absolutely
so good.
Phenomenal. I think it's when we pull back a little bit and we see sort of a lot of movement on screen. But I mean, again, that's true of any of the VFX in any of these Marvel shows so far. So again, it's a streaming show. There's still a differential in terms of budget in comparison to the movies. So I definitely think that, calm down, relax a little bit. But I do see, don't get me wrong, I do see some moments where you're just kind of like, okay, I mean, that's a little rough there.
I'm probably the wrong guy to be commenting on whether or not the CG is good or not, because as a fan of Doctor Who, I'm no stranger to bad effects. And to me, as long as the story and the characters are compelling enough, I can look past some bad effects. Because, like, again, as long as it gets the idea across, to me, that's all that matters. And this show does, like Justin was saying, an excellent job of nailing that movie quality CGI in these like bite-sized episodes. So I think it goes a long way to say that, like, CGI is not an easy process. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's not an overnight thing. And with these last minute changes that some of these movies go under, I'm not surprised that sometimes these shots aren't the most polished. But again, as long as it drives that point home, I'm not suffering at all. So
yeah,
I think it's a standout for this series personally.
Yeah, and for myself, I mean, I do want to address the fact that, like, during our Netflix The Sandman review, the CG took me out so many times just based on its quality. It took me out of the show. I wasn't I kind of lost I wasn't as immersed as I feel like I am still with this show, even in those moments when I noticed that, they look a little rubbery. In that series, I kind of definitely was taken out of it. So I'm not saying I know exactly how VFX should work, but I do know what takes me out of a story, and this, thankfully, these effects didn't.
Yeah, and I think the main thing too is that there's different qualities and different grades. There's different directors that lead these visual effects houses, and there might be different expectations of what exits their studio as being a final product. That is so subjective on its own, right? What someone might see at one studio and say, I don't know, I would still work on that a little bit more. Someone else at another studio says, perfect, let's ship it. Let's package that and get that in the final edit. That could also be a differentiating factor as to why visual effects look rather inconsistent. Not necessarily money. It might be still a lot of money that's still thrown at it, like a Sandman, right? It's clear that Marvel, there's a problem with the communication that's going on between Marvel and visual effects houses. It's clear that they want the best, and they demand the best, and these visual effects houses deserve all the credit for delivering, because the textural qualities in the faces alone, in some of these shots, they were outstanding. Like the sort of beard in Banner's skin,
like his stubble,
his stubble. It was really well done. It looked better actually than Endgame at some points, but maybe it's just because of lighting and how they lit it. So I don't know. I was very impressed with the quality of the CG in this series.
The last thing I'll say before we maybe get to our final thoughts, if that's all right with you two, is Amy Doherty does the music, the score for the series, and I will say I don't think there's been necessarily too much of like a memorable theme, but there has been a really cool mix so far of like what you'd expect from a legal drama with like the like kind of like that I don't know, piano vibe, but also there's a little bit of like CSI Miami at times, and there's like one specific scene where they start blasting the horns, and I was like pumped by it, and it's honestly it's I think the soundtrack or the music so far from a score perspective has been just as fun, but what's been phenomenal is every time those credits get going, every single time those credits get going, it's just a pumped up like banger of a track. And there it's similar to what, if you watched Miss Marvel and loved the soundtrack of all of those, and I was downloading them week to week. I think people are going to do the same thing with the music from this series as well.
I mean, you said it. They totally had a lot of fun with the music, and that again pairs so well with the show because I can't stress enough about how much fun I had watching the show. Like there was a smile on my face almost every time I started an episode, and it was still there by the time those credits started rolling. And I sat through the credits because they are so entertaining. Like they managed to make credits entertaining, and that's something Marvel does. So yeah, score is standout for me because it marries so well with the show.
And just so everyone's aware, with each episode, there is a end credits stinger. We can confirm that, so make sure you're not skipping those credits. Like, watch the credits because they're phenomenal in their own, but then there are some really great stinger moments as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually really liked the music. I think that you're absolutely right, Nate. It captures the sort of law criminal scores of other past TV shows and kind of sprinkles that through, but it also is very like it's fun in that it uses the piano in a really interesting way to kind of articulate the sort of lighthearted nature of the show. But then there's this transition that I think I've at least heard a couple times in the credits that feels like the theme that has that sort of heroic sound to it, but it almost seems like satirical. Like it's almost like it's making fun of like the hero theme rather than like trying to create like a hero theme for She-Hulk. I don't know. I'm not a music expert, but there was something that kind of made me chuckle when I heard that score because it sounds like an incomplete hero. The score sounds like a reluctant hero that doesn't want to take on their responsibilities. That's kind of what I got from some of the theming of the songs and some of the things. But the pop culture references, it's not unheard of for the MCU to use them, but the way they use them throughout the series is very purposeful.
Alrighty. Well, listen, let's get to our final thoughts on these 4 episodes so far. We're just going to be rating, I guess, kind of where we're at so far out of 5 for these first 4 episodes. We're going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 ripped suits. Darcy, I'll get you to go first.
Well, I mean, as it's pretty obvious from this little review we've done here, I can't find a bad thing to say about this show. As a diehard comic fan and a fan of the MCU and everything, the direction it's going, this show is really hitting all those sweet spots that I'm looking for in an MCU show, as well as just being a very funny, down-to-earth, superhero show. Everything about this is so good and so relatable because a lot of it is real-world issues and stuff like that. And I can't stress enough about how much how lightly they talk about these things and really make you think while making you smile. So kudos to the writers, kudos to the actors. This is easily a good 4.5 out of 5 ripped suits for me because it's everything I want from a Marvel TV show.
Dope stuff. Justin.
Yeah, I think that you said that well, Darcy. I think this show 100%, it put a smile on my face the entire time I was watching this show. It proves that the MCU is at a point where they can start to take themselves less serious. They can layer in more self-referential, satirical humor that is very real world in its topics in our everyday life that feels like it's speaking to us quite literally beyond the superheroes, beyond everything. It's really about societal sort of commentary things. And I think that's incredibly smart for the MCU to say, let's start tapping into that. We talked about it. Tatiana Maslany, our Canadian gal, she is literally the strength of this series. She is flexing her abilities to be honest, sincere, and just downright hilarious. It doesn't even seem like she's acting, as I was mentioning before. And we were talking about the CG, and I think, again, the CG mirrors her mannerisms so well. They really did a good job of doing the mocap and finding how to animate She-Hulk's face with Tatiana's face so that it felt very, very real. So I think that they did a great job. And Darcy, you said it, like, to see Nikki and Jennifer Walters and their friendship and their bond, as you mentioned, Nate, it is a example of ride or die. They are best friends and they really look like family. And it's very reminiscent of some of our favorite friendships that we've seen built through TV. So I loved it. When this show was first announced and it was pitched as like a 30-minute law procedural comedy and that it was going to be lighter in tone. They hit it out of the park with this one. I think that they absolutely nailed a new genre within their own series of MCU content that they can continue in other ways. They can do it with other characters, and it doesn't necessarily need to stay restricted to She-Hulk, but the fact that She-Hulk is the introduction to that, and again, being that her character was a very fourth wall breaking, self-referential hero from the comics, it just makes sense that she's the MCU's introduction, and then maybe later we'll get Deadpool. Well, we know we're going to get Deadpool eventually, right? So, but again, I think that this show was fantastic. These 4 episodes were fantastic in setting a tone, setting a mood that will definitely rub people the wrong way, both for its pacing, but also for, I think, some of its honest, meaningful commentary about society and what it's like to be a woman in this day and age. So my score is reflective of how these 4 episodes set the bar and set the tone for what will be the rest of the series. And for that, I'm going to be giving it a 4.5 out of 5 ripped suits. Is that right?
That's right.
Ripped suits.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Cool. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think I'm almost right there with you. I think the pace of the show, by the 4th episode, I've started to, and even in just our discussions and our discussions in our watch clubs, it started to pull me around to understanding and getting a greater sense of what they're going for with this show and its pace. So I'm definitely coming around to it by the 4th episode. I think it reminds me a lot of WandaVision in how that series started, where I think there were a lot of folks who were just so taken aback by that show and the first 3 episodes of that show until they clicked in, until they started recognizing, oh, this is what they're going for. Okay, this is actually really smart, really incredible, really well done. I think, again, the show is absolutely so confident. The writing is so fantastic, and the entire cast does such a good job, as we've been saying. I think the visual effects, for the most part, have really stepped up. So if you watch that one trailer and really kind of where it was a little bit worried, I wouldn't worry at all about this. Just sit down, as we said, grab a drink, have fun. The show is so fresh, and yeah, I think for myself, I'm sitting at a solid 4 out of 5 ripped suits. I'm excited to see that score go up as we start to go further and further. And honestly, I'm just excited to, I'm looking at the IMDb and I'm seeing some additional cast, and I'm excited to sort of see how they all play into the overall narrative and the overall story. So that is it for this spoiler-free review for She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this series or any of the content we cover, well, Justin, can you let our lovely green listeners know how they can smash their digits to reach us?
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, and games, including, actually, we also have an interview that we just put out with both director of this series, Kat Coiro, and head writer and executive producer, Jessica Gao. Justin got the chance to sit down and discuss the various ways in which they've implemented their own experiences into this show. Justin, quick plug, how was that interview?
Oh, dude, it's always great to talk to the people that make the stuff that we love, and this was no different. I absolutely enjoyed my conversation with Jessica Gao and Kat Coiro, who are both the creative minds behind this series, and they shared some great insight about what drove them to want to tell this story in this way, to keep it into this sort of 30-minute structure, but also have it very self-referential. Yeah, it was a great interview. Definitely go check it out.
Yeah. You can also, you can hear that in podcast form just on this feed that you're already hopefully subscribed to. But you can also subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. If you want to see Justin's face, and you can also see my face. We had a good little chat about the interviews as well. And if that's not enough for you, we also have our spoiler-free reviews for Marvel's I Am Groot, I am Groot. We have Netflix's The Sandman spoiler-free review. We also have our spoiler-free review for Netflix's Day Shift, as well as Skydance Animation's Luck from Apple TV Plus, and Prey from Hulu and Disney Plus. Remember, you can catch our Watch Club episodes where we break down moment to moment each episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law and give you our thoughts and theories. And again, for the first 3 episodes, we will be dropping those on Thursdays along with each episode of the show on Disney Plus, and then on Fridays after that for the remainder of the season. Lastly, we have our weekly This Week in Geek episodes every single Wednesday, where we bring you the latest news and trailer reactions from around the Geekiverse. So go give those episodes a listen and a 5-star review if you don't mind. Oh, and I'm really stoked to mention that we've been accredited for Fan Expo Canada 2022, and while we don't exactly know what that means, just like us, you'll have to wait and find out, but make sure you're subscribed right here on all of our, click on all of our socials, check us out on YouTube. We probably have some content going up on YouTube about Fan Expo as well, so you can be kept up to date on everything Geekcentric cross Fan Expo Canada 2022. Justin, Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this Hulk-sized spoiler-free review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.